On the bustling pedestrian street of Luo City, on March 2, 2030, life pulsed through the crowd as overlapping billboards flickered above in the chaotic urban scene. Inside the office of the Young Fan Management Company, the atmosphere was thick with tension. The gang leader sat coldly, lighting a cigarette, as he questioned the young man seated before him whether he truly understood the weight of borrowing a massive sum. 5 million. This man was Jang Yong, leader of the Ocean Gang and a key figure in the city's underground financial world. In a sharp, cutting tone, he warned that his interest rates were brutally steep. The young man, Chun, sat drenched in sweat, anxiety clear in his trembling voice as he replied that he would accept any terms the leader imposed. Jang Yong seized the opportunity to assert his authority, offering the loan at an outrageous interest rate of 40%. He proposed lending 5 million, to be repaid as 7 million within 6 months, and demanded collateral of equal value. Chun quickly produced the deed to his commercial property, pleading with the gang leader to consider it. Jang Yong scrutinized the documents with a sinister glint in his eyes, deliberately undervaluing the property by citing its age and a stagnant market, estimating it at just 3 or 4 million. Internally, he sneered, believing this easy prey had walked right into the trap. With finality, he rejected the 5 million loan offer based solely on the house's collateral and threatened to cancel the deal. In response, Chun acted out a desperate panic, begging for help and reducing his request to 4 million. He insisted he had met a fortune teller who predicted incredible luck in gambling, assuring him he'd win back all his losses. Realizing he was dealing with a reckless gambler, Jang Yong leaned back, more relaxed, and made a final offer. 3.5 million. He was certain the young man would accept. Chun responded with exaggerated, almost manic gratitude, accepting without hesitation. He thanked the leader profusely and promised quick repayment. Jang Yong, capitalizing on the moment, made the deal even harsher, demanding repayment of 4.9 million within just 3 months, or the house would be seized. He instructed Chun to sign an IOU so the funds could be transferred within 3 days. Chun agreed immediately, but before signing, he added one condition. 10 minutes later, Chun left the office escorted by a guard, smiling as he bid farewell to the leader, as though the deal had worked in his favor. The moment a notification appeared on his phone confirming the deposit of 3.5 million yen, his expression shifted dramatically. The innocent smile morphed into a devilish sneer as he muttered to himself that the gang leader was a fool. After all, who would care about repaying loans when the end of the world was just a month away? Chen's mind drifted back to memories of his previous life, when a cataclysmic natural disaster devastated the planet, reshaping the very fabric of the ecosystem. He remembered the deadly surge in solar radiation that pushed global temperatures to a blistering 50 degrees Celsius, plunging humanity into a month-long inferno that reduced civilization to ashes. Meanwhile, inside the office, Jang Yong let out a mocking laugh, ridiculing the foolishness of the young man who had agreed to the inflated interest rate just to get quick cash. He sneered that gamblers didn't deserve to own property. His assistant, however, voiced concern, warning that the house might actually be worth more than 4 million, and that the young man's willingness to accept only 3.5 million could be a trap. But Jang Yong dismissed the warning with a smirk, insisting he'd seen countless gambling addicts sell off even their families to keep playing. He added that he had no intention of stopping at the house once the repayment deadline came. He planned to sell the young man's organs too. Out on the street, Chun walked while checking his phone, inwardly marveling at how easily people gave him money just for accepting a spike in interest. He scoffed, sarcastically wondering if the gang leader actually believed he could scam him. A sly grin crept across Chen's face as he reminded himself that he'd borrowed from every loan shark in Luo City in a single day. How could interest possibly scare him? Looking at his phone with absolute confidence, he thought that once the money was in his hands, no one should even dream of getting it back. His mind wandered to haunting memories of destruction. Cracked earth, withered vegetation, monstrous mutated creatures, the collapse of all systems, and desperate humans turning on each other for mere scraps of resources. Chun fully understood that in the chaos to come, those who controlled the supplies would hold ultimate power, and he was determined to become the ruler of the apocalypse. He remembered how billionaires and celebrities were reduced to beggars, groveling for a drop of water or a morsel of sausage, only to die pitifully in the streets when none came. Standing tall beneath the glow of city lights, Chun felt the weight of his rebirth settle on him. This second chance gave him just enough time before the disaster struck, and that was all he needed to carefully execute his plan. Just then, a sudden noise pulled him from his thoughts. He turned to see two girls chatting excitedly about a luxury brand of ice cream, their carefree conversation cutting through the darkness of his inner world. The moment stirred a bitter memory from his previous life. He hadn't dared to buy even one piece of that premium ice cream for himself, yet he had repeatedly bought it for that woman, Lu Wanqing. Thinking back, he now believed feeding that luxury to her had been a bigger waste than giving it to a dog. The more he dwelled on it, the more his resentment and fury swelled inside him. Determined to treat himself and reclaim what he'd once denied himself, Chun strode toward the counter and loudly ordered 10 of every variety in the store. His extravagant demand stunned the girls behind him, who began whispering in disbelief, though clearly impressed by his looks. The staff member behind the counter stared at him in shock, unsure whether to take him seriously. Chun didn't look like someone who could afford such excess. In a cautious tone, the employee reminded him that this wasn't ordinary ice cream. This was the realm of ice cream assassins, premium brands that cost a fortune. She clarified that ordering 10 of each type would total over 20,000 yen, just to confirm that he truly meant it. At that moment, a red-haired woman interrupted sarcastically, criticizing his plain clothes and boldly declaring that she would kneel and bow to him on the spot if he could actually afford what he had ordered. Chun turned to her with a sharp look and a confident smile, asking if she truly meant what she said. The woman, flustered, tried to maintain her arrogance, refusing the idea of bowing and questioning whether someone like him had the status to act so boldly. But Chun responded with an icy tone, saying he had given her a way out, yet she chose to leap into the abyss. And now, no one could stop her from fulfilling her bet. He took out his phone and displayed his bank account balance, which exceeded 20 million yuan, in front of the stunned employee, then told her to wrap everything up. Shocked, she ran to call the manager. The manager, Fei, arrived in a hurry, showing the utmost respect, only for Chun to order him to calculate the price of every piece of ice cream in the store, announcing his intention to buy the entire stock and close the shop early. The manager began calculating, barely believing his luck had turned into such fortune, as these high-end products rarely sold in large quantities. He informed Chun that the display items were worth 70,000 yuan, and the total including inventory came to 1 million yuan. Chun didn't think the amount was large. Instead, he saw it as a chance to store luxury food at home to enjoy once the disaster struck. He transferred 300,000 yuan as a down payment and gave the manager his address for delivery, which the manager accepted gratefully. Chun then turned to the girls in the store, inviting them to choose any ice cream they liked at his expense. Cries of joy and praise for Chun Zhao's generosity and good looks rose from the girls. But his gaze fixed sharply on the arrogant woman, excluding her from the offer and reminding her he was still waiting for her to fulfill her kneeling bet. Crushed by humiliation, the woman had no choice but to kneel while crying, as Chun stood over her coldly. He asked her with contempt why she pretended to be strong if she couldn't face the consequences. Later, at sunset, Chun sat on a park bench, enjoying the taste of the luxury ice cream and confirming its high quality to himself. Suddenly, he used his special ability to open a rift in the void. A black square appeared before him, his dimensional storage, which could preserve items in their current state indefinitely, ensuring his ice cream would remain fresh forever. He threw the bag of purchases into the void, happily thinking that he no longer needed to care about celebrities or models. Just having this ability gave him a wonderful feeling. He looked at his hand in awe, having believed that superpowers only appeared after the disaster. He hadn't expected his ability to return with him after his rebirth. Now, he realized this power would be his greatest trump card. Chun began planning his next steps. From building a safe house and preparing cold storage to gathering weapons and energy sources, Chun realized he had a long list of tasks ahead. While he was deep in thought, his phone suddenly rang. The caller ID showed a contact saved as Little Fairy, which immediately stirred his surprise. Chun looked at the screen with intense irritation when he saw the name. It was Lu Wanqing, the girl he regarded as a bringer of misfortune. His memory drifted back to the time she entered his life like a saving angel after his parents passed away. Back then, he foolishly believed she was the ray of light that would brighten his darkest days. But reality hit hard. She had only been after the small inheritance his parents left behind. She pressured him into buying a luxury apartment in the city center and demanded a hefty dowry to marry her. She was like a black hole, endlessly devouring his savings. She even went so far as to suggest selling his family's old house under the excuse that it was run down. Chun vividly remembered the pain of that moment, how she tried to strip him of his ancestral legacy just to satisfy her material greed. And it didn't end there. In his previous life, during the early days of the disaster, she betrayed him without hesitation. After everything he'd done to protect her, she handed him over as a bargaining chip to a powerful figure. He was killed and dismembered, while she looked at him with disgust, unbothered by the idea of eating him to survive if it came to that. Snapping back to the present, Chen's eyes darkened with a demonic gleam. Since she had willingly appeared in his life again, he decided it was time to settle old scores. He answered the call, her voice drifting in from what sounded like a luxury hotel room. He asked playfully why she was calling. She replied with a sorrowful tone, saying she was with friends and had lost her beloved gold necklace, leaving her heartbroken. Chan smiled wickedly, pretending to sympathize, and offered to buy her a new necklace, then shocked her by suggesting he'd buy 10, so she could pick whichever one she liked. Lu was caught off guard by his sudden generosity. He lied, telling her he had made a fortune through cryptocurrency and wanted to spoil her. Though she suspected it might be a trick, her interest was piqued when he hinted at a massive financial opportunity. He asked for a small favor, to act as a witness for a loan he was about to receive, promising her 5% of the amount as a reward. Meanwhile, an elderly man exited the bathroom, grumbling about how long her call was taking. She replied in a flirtatious tone, asking him to wait a little longer. As she juggled her thoughts, she quickly did the math. Servicing the old man all night had earned her little, but signing a document with Chun could bring her 50,000 yuan. In her eyes, Chun was a coward who wouldn't dare to deceive her. The call ended, and Chen's real expression surfaced. Cold, menacing, and filled with anticipation for his revenge. The scene shifted to a new location, where Chan stood in front of a residential building with an engineer. He demanded that the place be transformed into an impregnable fortress. Within a month, Chan began listing seemingly impossible demands. Bulletproof composite glass, exterior walls reinforced with military-grade concrete, solar panels covering the entire roof, independent generators, and a military-level air filtration system. He also requested a self-sustaining ecosystem and blast-proof doors with both biometric and mechanical locks, making the engineer sweat under the weight of such specifications. His objective was clear: to build a fully integrated combat shelter capable of sustaining life. The engineer assumed Chun was either a doomsday prepper or someone heavily influenced by sci-fi films. But Chun interrupted sharply, reminding him of his title as Master of Defense, pushing at his professional pride when the engineer hesitated over the budget. The engineer viewed him as an eccentric rich man with more money than sense, but also as a golden opportunity. Chun sealed the deal by transferring an upfront payment of 1 million yen, leaving the engineer free to determine the remaining cost upon completion. The engineer was nearly ecstatic, believing he had landed a once-in-a-lifetime client who would bring him financial freedom in one go. Chun, however, was firm about the quality of the materials, and the two men shook hands to finalize the agreement. In that moment, two opposing intentions clashed, like beasts of fire and ice. The engineer planned to bleed this wealthy young man dry, while Chun had no intention of ever paying the balance, confident the end of the world would arrive before the due date, and no one would be around to collect. After ensuring that his fortress was underway, Chun turned his focus to the next step: gathering supplies of medicine, food, and daily essentials. He considered this part of the plan relatively easy. What truly consumed his thoughts was a far greater threat. Not the disaster itself, but the darkness within human nature once law and order collapsed. While melee weapons could be found in any store, acquiring firearms for lethal defense was the true challenge. Prioritizing his safety, he picked up his phone and began searching through hidden channels and direct contacts. He messaged a seller, inquiring about the purchasing process. The reply came back with a meeting time, 8 p.m., and a promise to send the location later with a strict warning not to be late. That night, Chin arrived at the arranged spot, only to be surprised that the seller had chosen a crowded residential neighborhood as the meeting point. Suddenly, the stillness of the night was shattered by the sound of frantic footsteps. A girl running in panic, chased by a group of men hurling insults and shouting for her to stop. They cornered her at a nearby alley, accusing her of betrayal within their territory and threatening her with death. Trembling with fear, the girl darted behind Chen Xiao, pleading for his help. When Chun looked at her face, he was stunned. He recognized her immediately. It was Li Yuyu. He silently wondered what someone like her was doing in a place like this. As the men shouted threats and the girl cried for help, Chun watched the unfolding scene in astonishment. He looked at her closely to confirm her identity, recalling their middle school days. How Li Yuyu had been the genius student, a radiant beauty admired by countless boys, shining like a goddess. Chun was snapped back to reality as one of the men yanked her hair violently, demanding money. Another man stepped in with a malicious grin, suggesting to their leader that she should pay with her body if she didn't have the cash. Chun could no longer stay silent. He stepped forward, eyes sharp, and ordered them to let her go. The men turned toward him with scorn, while Li Yuyu looked at him with a glimmer of hope. One of the thugs reacted immediately, charging at Chen with fury, intent on punishing him for interfering. But Chun dodged with surprising speed and skill. He grabbed the attacker's arm and twisted it hard enough to make the man scream in agony. In a flash, he delivered a crushing blow that knocked the thug to the ground. At that moment, a strange system screen appeared before Chun, announcing the detection of strong negative emotions: fear, pain, and anger. He stood within a pulsing aura of energy, startled by the activation of the negative emotion harvest system, something he had never possessed in his previous life. There was no time to dwell on it. The gang leader grabbed Li Yuyu and threatened to kill her if Chun took another step. Suddenly, another person intervened, hurling a brick with astonishing speed and precision. It hit the gang leader square in the face, knocking him down. The newcomer appeared with a mocking tone, scolding the group of grown men for ganging up on a lone girl. Enraged, the thugs charged at them, wielding clubs and sticks, screaming with the intent to kill. Chun remained calm, facing them coldly. With incredible speed, he countered their attacks. Meanwhile, the other person took down one of the attackers with a fierce blow, focusing his gaze and landing a punch that sent his opponent crashing to the ground. He followed up with an agile leap and delivered a powerful kick, knocking another thug down. Together, they completely controlled the battle. Chun Xiao stood over the bodies of the fallen aggressors, stomping on one of them with force. With a cold, commanding tone, he ordered them to get out of his sight. Just then, blue system screens appeared in front of him, announcing the activation of the negative emotion harvest feature. Points of fear, panic, pain, despair, and humiliation poured from his enemies, unlocking for the first time an expansion to his void storage. As the thugs fled in terror, screaming, Chun smiled to himself, realizing how intriguing the idea of harvesting negative emotions truly was. Li Yuyu, still in shock, turned to him and gratefully thanked him for saving her. Surprised to see her here, Chun asked with concern if she was hurt. Then he took off his shirt and placed it gently over her shoulders to keep her warm, advising her to stay safe as he had other matters to attend to. Just then, the other person, named Mong, interrupted, praising Chen's heroic style in saving the girl. Chun introduced himself and revealed that he was the one who had arranged the meeting. Mong was surprised to learn that Chun was the buyer, considering the coincidence that brought them together a stroke of fate. The seller attempted to use a strange secret code as a formal introduction, but Chun looked at him coldly and called him a fool. Instantly, the system detected a surge of astonishment and confusion from the seller. Chun quickly covered up with a loud laugh, claiming it was just a joke to lighten the mood. Then, he said the correct password they had agreed upon. Mong believed him and enthusiastically invited him to follow. They arrived at an isolated house where the seller presented a box containing a Russian-made pistol, praising its durability and power while cautioning about the scarcity of ammunition and the need to use it wisely. Chun examined the weapon with skill and professionalism, impressing the seller, who now believed he was dealing with a true expert. Wanting to build rapport, he offered Chun a special friendship price. Mong observed that all of Chen's movements indicated someone with serious experience in the field. Chun seized the opportunity. With a cunning look, he began to negotiate, demanding a silencer, a warranty card, and an extra box of ammunition as a free gift. Mong was stunned by these bold requests, thinking to himself in disbelief that he was already offering a discounted deal. The seller grew furious, reminding Chun that this was the black market, where goods were sold at double the price. Not a home appliance store where customers could ask for warranties and freebies. As the seller's anger and shock increased, Chen's system absorbed more negative emotion points. Deciding it was time to end the act, Chun paid the amount immediately. Internally, he declared that he had finally acquired everything he needed, supplies and weapons. Only one task remained. The scene shifted to a luxury hotel under the moonlight, where Lu Wanqing waited impatiently. She scolded Chun with fake coquetry for arriving late and asked suspiciously if his plan was free of risk. He reassured her with sweet words, all while mocking her greed internally. In truth, Lu looked at him with veiled disdain, convinced that he was just a naive fool who had sold his own blood to buy her a handbag, and that he was far too cowardly to ever deceive her. At the loan office, the leader praised her elegant signature while she focused solely on the money. She signed as a guarantor, thinking carelessly that it was just a formality and that all liability would fall on Chen the moment the ink dried. But the glances exchanged between the loan leader and his men revealed their sinister intentions, how she would pay later if anything went wrong. Still, she was confident in her looks and her ability to manipulate anyone, completely unaware of the hell that awaited her. As soon as she signed, Chun silently thanked her. It was her greed that had allowed him to pay the final installment for his safe house. Chun returned to the construction site, where the engineer confirmed that the place was now a true fortress, built to military standards, thermally insulated, and resistant to explosions, even nuclear ones. Chun paid the engineer generously and thanked him for the exceptional quality of work. Back inside his safe house, Chun sat on the sofa as breaking news blared from the television. It reported unprecedented solar activity and extreme heat waves set to strike the planet, warning of record-breaking temperatures. As Chun calmly polished his pistol with a white cloth, he turned his sharp gaze toward the window, eyes full of determination. He whispered to himself that the decisive moment had finally come, while the sky turned blood red and the flames of destruction signaled that the end had arrived. The catastrophe begins. On television, a news anchor reports that a massive solar flare has struck Earth. She warns of extreme global temperatures soaring to 45 degrees Celsius and urges people to stay indoors. The heat hits immediately and feels suffocating. Sweat streams down Chinia's face as he grimly realizes this is only the start. The entire city is scorched by a blinding light as the immense sun turns the metropolis into an oven. Civilians are already suffering. A woman splashes water on her face, trying to soothe her burning skin. Drenched in sweat, she leans over her balcony, complaining that the weather is killing her and wondering how long it will last. On the street, a chubby shop owner in a floral shirt uses a megaphone. He tells frightened neighbors that temperatures will continue rising and warns of an impending supply shortage, urging them to buy his last batch of goods before rationing begins. Wiping sweat from his forehead, the owner isn't worried about the disaster. Instead, he grins, seeing the heat wave as the perfect chance to make a fortune. A group of women approaches his stall, asking him to lower the high price of his watermelons. One of them crouches down to inspect the fruit. The shop owner looks at her with a leering expression, clearly more interested in her body than the sale. Leaning forward with a creepy smile, he tells the woman that if she buys 2 melons, He'll give her a discount and a free pack of tissues. He then suggests the women come to his house at night to enjoy his air conditioning. Looking uncomfortable, they quickly decline his offer. Undeterred, he leans uncomfortably close to the woman's face, pressuring her to buy now since there might be no food for sale tomorrow. However, his attitude shifts when two men ask for a lower price on water. He angrily points at them, shouting that he runs a small business and allows no bargaining. As the greedy shop owner carries away a box of supplies, he remains unaware that Chen Xiao watches him from the shade with a cold, silent gaze. Chen Xiao glared coldly, his eyes narrowing as he recognized the shop owner. Li Dafu. The sight stirred a painful memory from his past life, recalling a humiliating moment that had happened in this very store. He remembered Li Fu shouting to a crowd, accusing a younger Chen Xiao of theft and claiming to have caught the poor boy red-handed. Li Dafu twisted young Chen Xiao's arm. When the boy explained he had only picked up a fallen item, Li Fu mocked him, refusing to believe the excuse and demanding payment. In his memory, the crowd judged him harshly, gossiping about his background and assuming his silence was an admission of guilt. Overwhelmed and terrified, young Chen Xiao wept and stammered that he hadn't stolen anything, but no one believed him. Now, Chen Xiao stood stoically in the shop, the silence around him stark against the noisy memories. He noticed a price tag on a shelf, a simple pack of onion potato chips costing an outrageous 50 yen, marked as a manager's recommendation. Chen Xiao picked up the bag and sarcastically asked Li Fu if the chips were made of gold, or if they prevented heat stroke to justify such a high price. Sweating profusely, Li Fu turned around with an annoyed glare. Chen Xiao's system activated, notifying him he had harvested disdain +3 from the shop owner. Losing patience, Li Fu snatched the chips from Chen Xiao, yelling at him to leave if he couldn't afford them. The system chimed again, detecting irritation +6. Unfazed, Chen Xiao smirked. He leaned in, taunting the boss about hoarding treasures and ominously warned him to watch out for thieves. Li Fu stopped, confused by the threat. Then, exploding with rage, he pointed at Chen Xiao, demanding to know whom he was cursing and threatening him, asking if the heat had driven him insane. But Chen Xiao remained calm. He asked if Li Fu had recently suffered from insomnia, night sweats, and weak knees. Caught off guard, Li Fu's anger faded, and he admitted that he had. Li Fu grows anxious, wondering aloud if bad feng shui in his warehouse is causing his troubles. Chao leans in close and grabs the shopkeeper's face, solemnly declaring that Li Fu's yin tang is dark, a terrible omen. Suddenly, Chen Xiao viciously slaps Li Fu across the face, sending him spinning with unfocused eyes. Chen Xiao rubs his chin, diagnosing the man with a deficiency. Enraged, Li Fu recovers and tries to kick Chen Xiao, shouting that his whole family has a deficiency. Chen Xiao easily dodges the attack. While Li Fu fumes, Chen Xiao casually grabs a lollipop and mockingly advises him to watch his health, warning that anger is harmful. As he leaves, Chen Xiao coldly tosses a coin, predicting Li Fu might die young if he isn't careful. Li Fu is left trembling with rage. The coin hits the floor with a metallic clink. Immediately, the system glows red, notifying Chen Xiao that he has harvested a huge amount of negative emotion. Anger +20 from the furious shopkeeper. Several hours later, a black cat runs past the dark supermarket entrance. Chen Xiao stands before the glass doors, reflecting on his past life. He remembers swallowing his anger when bullied and vows that in this life, he will get everything back with interest. A sinister look crosses his face as he checks his system. The emotions harvested from Li Fu are just enough for a spatial expansion of his storage ability. Chen Xiao acts immediately. Using the harvested negative emotions, he upgrades his ability, expanding his spatial storage by another 200 cubic meters. He raises his hand, and a swirling black void manifests in his palm, ready to devour everything in its path. A confident smile plays on his lips as he prepares his revenge. The next day, birds chirp peacefully outside the shop. Still recovering from their confrontation, Li Fu walks toward his store, unaware of what awaits him. Nearby, Chen Xiao watches from the bushes. Suddenly, Li Fu freezes, his jaw dropping as he looks through the glass doors of his supermarket. He stumbles inside and stands motionless in the middle of the room. The reality hits him. The shelves, once stocked with overpriced goods, are now completely empty. Every item has vanished, leaving the metal racks bare. Li Fu's face darkens with rage. His mind races, wondering where his goods have gone. Unable to contain his fury, he grabs his head and screams, demanding to know who robbed him. Far away in his safe house, Chun Shirao watches a live video of Lafu's breakdown. The system notifies him that Lafu's suffering has generated 66 negative emotion points. Chun Shirao calmly sips a cold soda, smiling with satisfaction as he watches his enemy suffer, enjoying his petty but satisfying revenge. Boss Lee completely lost control. He ran frantically around his store, shouting and cursing, demanding to know who had stolen his merchandise. He collapsed to the floor, nearly in tears, unable to accept what had happened. To him, this was worse than the apocalypse itself. The end of the world didn't frighten him nearly as much as losing all his stock overnight. The people nearby began whispering among themselves. One person speculated aloud whether Boss Lee had staged the whole thing just to drive up prices. Another worried about how they were supposed to survive if even the supermarket was empty. An old woman claimed she had seen a dark shadow drifting through the area the previous night, and someone immediately questioned her, asking if she was sure. Boss Lee, however, refused to believe any of it. He shouted that it was impossible, that ghosts didn't exist. Yet even as he yelled, notifications quietly accumulated in Chen's mind. Strong negative emotions detected. Anger +12, fear +3, suspicion +4. Chan stood nearby, watching everything unfold like a spectator at a show. He casually ate his snacks, finding they tasted especially good when paired with other people's suffering. With a faint smile, he remarked to himself that Lifu's emotional output was impressively stable. As he reached into the bag again, he deliberately let the packaging show. The moment Boss Lee saw it, his eyes nearly popped out of their sockets. He screamed that those were his goods and charged forward like a madman. Chun calmly raised the bag and asked whether the chips were made of gold or somehow capable of preventing heatstroke, given their outrageous price. Boss Lee immediately recognized him and roared in fury. Chun continued casually asking if Boss Lee could really sleep peacefully while hoarding so many treasures, warning him to be careful or thieves might come after him. Boss Lee finally lost his temper, grabbing Chun and demanding to know where he had gotten the chips, accusing him of theft. Trembling with rage, Chun took a step back, feigning surprise, and calmly reminded him that accusations required proof. He even pointed out how strange it was that the entire supermarket was now empty, with not a single snack left behind. Then, in an almost innocent tone, he offered the half-eaten bag in his hand, asking if Boss Lee wanted it. Boss Lee stood there shaking, his face pale with fury and disbelief, completely speechless. Suddenly, Boss Lee exploded in anger, shouting that Chun had cursed him and that now all his goods were gone. He accused Chun of being the thief and demanded an explanation. In his mind, even if Chun hadn't actually stolen anything, he could still squeeze something out of him to compensate for the loss. At the very least, he could use him as a scapegoat. Another notification quietly appeared in Chun's vision. Strong negative emotion detected. Anger +18. Yet Chun remained composed. He casually pointed out that other stores also sold the same chips and asked why Boss Lee was so sure it had to be him. He reminded everyone that the shelves were already empty when he arrived. If anyone wanted proof, they could check the surveillance footage or search his place. He even added that if they found any of Boss Lee's goods there, he would compensate tenfold. That statement immediately caused the surrounding onlookers to murmur. Some noted that other shops also sold the same brand. Others recalled that Boss Lee had been complaining about prices just the day before. The atmosphere quickly shifted. Boss Lee felt a tingling sensation on his scalp. Something wasn't right. How had this kid suddenly turned the situation around so cleanly? Before he could think further, Chun calmly added that if nothing was found, then the generator sitting behind the shop would belong to him as compensation. Furious and cornered, Boss Lee agreed on the spot. Convinced that Chun was bluffing, he grabbed Chun and dragged him along, declaring that once the truth came out, he would see how smug Chun still felt. When they arrived at Chen's residence, the crowd gasped. The moment the door opened, they were met with a scene completely beyond their expectations. The interior looked nothing like an ordinary home. Everything was orderly, fortified, and astonishingly well-stocked. Expensive equipment lined the walls, sealed supplies were stacked neatly, and even large energy units were visible. Whispers broke out immediately. So he was hiding this much wealth. When did he become this rich? This looks like a fortress. Even Boss Lee froze in place. His eyes widened as he stared at the interior, disbelief washing over his face. This wasn't a home. It was a bunker. Chun turned to him calmly and asked if he was done searching, even offering to let him pry up the floorboards if he wished. Boss Lee's confidence completely collapsed. His face turned pale, and he quickly waved his hands, saying there was no need. He mumbled something about checking other places and tried to leave. But before he could escape, Chun reached out and grabbed his arm, stopping him cold. With a faint smile, Chun reminded him about the agreement they had just made. That if nothing was found, the generator would belong to him. Boss Lee stiffened. His face twisted as he tried to backpedal, claiming it was all a misunderstanding and asking whether things really needed to be taken this far. But the crowd was already watching, and Chen's calm gaze made it clear this time there would be no backing out. Chun calmly asked him why he hadn't thought about stepping back when he was framing others before. At that moment, another notification popped up in Chen's mind. Strong negative emotion detected. Impatience +8. The onlookers began whispering among themselves. Some muttered that a man who couldn't even keep his word deserved what he got. Others sneered, saying he had it coming. Hearing those words, Li Fu's face contorted with fury. He snapped back, accusing Chun of going too far, and shouting that he was already giving him face. Then, without warning, he swung his fist at Chun. Chun easily blocked the blow and twisted Li Fu's arm in one smooth motion. A sharp cry pierced the air as Li Fu fell to the ground, clutching his hand in pain. A new notification appeared. Strong negative emotion detected. Pain +73. Gritting his teeth, Li Fu finally gave in, shouting that he would move the generator immediately and begging Chun to stop. Chun calmly reminded him to hurry, pointing out that once the temperature rose further, going outside would become impossible. He added coolly that without a generator, surviving the coming days would be difficult. Another wave of emotional data flooded in: humiliation +30, pain +86, fear +101. Chun watched without expression, knowing everything was unfolding exactly as planned. Just as things settled, his phone rang again. It was Lu Wingjing. Her voice was anxious as she said several unfamiliar men had been following her for the past few days. They looked like debt collectors and she didn't understand why. Wasn't she just signing something before? Chun already knew the answer. He simply smiled faintly to himself, standing quietly as he listened. This too was part of the plan, and it was only just beginning. On the phone, Lewanking yells, demanding to know why the Dai Gang is after her now. Our protagonist plays innocent, saying his heart breaks at her distrust. Inside, he smiles with satisfaction, impressed the gang moved faster than he expected. Calmly, he asks if the gang already knows where she lives, or if they've said anything to her. The young woman replies she managed to lose them but insists on hearing the whole truth. Chen Shurao reassures her not to overthink it, suggesting it might all be a misunderstanding. Right after hanging up, our hero sits down to enjoy a very luxurious feast. On the other end, the girl is utterly shocked by what she sees on her screen. He shows her a plate of grilled salmon just to tease her a little more. She can't believe it and asks how he can still get food of such quality. Taking a sip of soda, our protagonist says he has plenty more of that in his stash. One king is stunned and asks if he really has a huge stockpile of food saved up. She notes that with the heat, supplies are scarce and wonders how he got so rich. Our protagonist taunts her, saying it's great to eat something like this when the weather is hot. He then savors a piece of salmon right in front of the camera to make her even more envious. The young woman is in shock and can hardly believe he's eating real salmon. Her desire intensifies, and she screams in desperation that she really wants some, too. With a wicked look, he cynically asks if she has enough to eat over there. At that point, the girl switches tactics and says she's very scared to keep living alone. She keeps up the act, saying she feels like the dead collectors are still nearby, and offers herself up, asking if she can stay at his place for a few days to feel safe. With a seductive voice, she begins to imply she can return the favor in some way. The young woman completes the sentence, promising she can keep him company if he lets her stay with him. Our protagonist smiles triumphantly. His plan worked and she fell right into the trap. Hook, line, and sinker. He teases her, reminding her she never allowed him to visit before, but then sends her his address to come pick her up. Lu Wenqing says the situation is different now and shares her address because he's her protector. With a victorious grin, he tells her to wait at home and not to wander around to avoid trouble. Meanwhile, Lu Wenqing underestimates him, thinking he's just another fool who's fallen for her charms. Our protagonist hangs up the phone, reflecting on how arrogant she used to be, and now she's selling herself out just for food. With a cold glare, he's already plotting the next steps of his revenge against the gold-digging girl. Suddenly, the doorbell rings, and a woman with a child is at the door calling for him. Chun Xiao goes to the door and peers through the peephole to see who's there. Upon opening it, he greets Auntie Wong and calmly asks what she wants. The neighbor explains her air conditioner broke and asks if she can stay at his place because of the heat. Our hero reminds her she once called him a beggar and had security guards throw him out. A memory flashes back to the woman and her husband mercilessly humiliating him and his mother. Back in the present, the neighbor tries to justify herself, saying that was all a long time ago. She then gets furious and accuses him of being inhuman, but he scoffs, saying at least he has air conditioning. With that, our protagonist starts slamming the door in her face without hesitation. The woman curses him out, and the system detects her anger, awarding 38 negative emotion points. Inside, Shurao just smiles, satisfied to have taken revenge on one more person. Afterward, our protagonist swaps the SIM card in his phone so he can't be tracked by anyone. With the new number in hand, he prepares to put the next part of his plan into action. He makes an anonymous call directly to the members of the dangerous Dai Gang, informing them that he knows Lu Wonqing's address and that she lives alone, making her an easy target. With everything set up, he just waits for things to unfold, his feet firmly on the ground. Shortly after, the young man goes out onto the balcony and observes the city, thinking about Lu Wonqing's fate. With a satisfied look, he tells himself the show is about to begin. Night falls over the city, and an air of tension spreads. Meanwhile, Luan King admires herself in the mirror, confident that she will soon enjoy the comfort of Chun Zhao's air-conditioned fortress. Sitting on the edge of her bed, she drifts into arrogant daydreams, imagining Chan Xiao kneeling to serve her. She is convinced that a carefree life of luxury is the only thing worthy of her status. Fully relaxed, she leans back and lights a cigarette, waiting for Chun Xiao. Suddenly, there is a knock at the door. Assuming it is Chun Xiao, she hurries over with a fake smile. She opens the door and immediately mocks the visitor for being so eager to please her. But her smile instantly fades, replaced by pure shock and horror. Instead of Chun Xiao, she sees the mob boss Zhang Yang and his men. Terrified, she stammers, asking how they found her. Zhang Yang ruthlessly slaps her across the face, reminding her that the money owed to the Dai Gang is due today. Luan King collapses to the floor in panic. She screams that Chun Xiao borrowed the money and tricked her into signing the papers, begging them to find him instead. Unmoved by her excuses, Zhang Yang holds up the contract and shouts that since she signed it, she is responsible for the debt. The mob boss orders his men to search the apartment and seize every valuable item they can find. As the thugs haul away furniture, a desperate Luan King screams at them to stop. She insists she is calling Chun Xiao and that he will arrive soon to pay. However, Zhang Yang sits casually on her sofa, gathering her luxury handbags and jewelry on the table. Luan King stands before him, terrified, as he inspects her possessions. Zhang Yang holds up a handbag with disdain, remarking that these scraps aren't even enough to cover the interest on her debt. With a greedy grin, he reminds her that his men didn't travel in this heat just to leave empty-handed. He stands up, casting a large shadow over her. Luan King steps back in fear, pleading with him not to come any closer and insisting the money is with Chun Xiao. Zhang Yang wears a cruel smile, clearly enjoying the situation. Panicking, Lu Wangqing tries to negotiate by revealing Chun Xiao has a stockpile of supplies. She urges them to wait, saying he will be coming to pick her up soon. She dials Chun Xiao's number, but an automated voice says the line is unavailable. Sweat beads on her face as she listens to the recording. She stares at her phone screen, watching the call go unanswered. Her face drains of color as the truth sinks in. She stammers that no one is answering, completely losing her composure. Pure panic fills her eyes as she wonders how this could have happened. Desperate to keep the gang at bay, she forces a trembling smile and tries to convince them he is just busy, promising to call him back immediately. Zhang Yang loses patience and cruelly reveals the truth. She was foolish not to realize Chun Xiao tricked her into signing the debt so he could escape. Lu Wanqing stands frozen, pale with shock as she understands she has been utterly betrayed. Suddenly, Zhang Yang grabs her roughly by the hair. Screaming in pain, Lu Wanqing tries to protect herself, shouting that he needs to find Chun Xiao because he has the valuable supplies. Ignoring her cries, The mob boss drags her across the room toward the bedroom. The bedroom door slams shut with a heavy thud. On the floor outside, Lu Wonking's shattered phone lies abandoned. Meanwhile, Chainao sits comfortably in his fortified, air-conditioned safe house. Holding a glass of wine, he thinks about Lu Wangqing, satisfied she is finally enduring the misery he orchestrated for her. Outside, the city is dark, but his apartment remains a lone beacon of light and safety. Back in Luan King's apartment, the deed is done. Zhang Yang sits shirtless on the edge of the bed with his back turned, while Luan King curls up on the bed, sobbing. Zhenjiang grabs a cup of coffee, intrigued by Lu Wonking's desperate pleas. He leans in, forcing her to meet his gaze, and demands she repeat exactly what supplies Chun Xiao has. Gasping as he tightens his grip around her throat, Lu Wangqing frantically lists Chun Xiao's luxuries: air conditioning, iced drinks, and piles of food. She cries out that he has everything. She stresses the abundance of supplies, hoping this information will spare her from further pain. Zhenjiang's eyes narrow with curiosity. He looks down at her and tells her that although she has nothing left, she has pointed him toward the right target. Satisfied, Zhenjiang tosses her onto the bed. He realizes he has caught a big fish and that targeting Chun Xiao is now the top priority. Standing over the sobbing woman with a greedy smile, he begins planning how to take Chun Xiao's fortress. He orders his gang to leave, ready to move on to their next target. The door closes behind them, leaving the apartment silent and destroyed. Alone in the dark, Lu Wangqing curls up, bruised all over. Her tears turn into pure hatred. Shaking with fury, she curses Chun Xiao, vowing he will die a horrible death for deceiving her. At night, many people hurriedly moved about, each carrying numerous weapons. A voice called out, right this way, Chun Xiao, that little beast, lives right here. At his home, the air conditioning runs 24 hours a day, and he has plenty of food and drink. Another person remarked that he's also extremely stingy, not even willing to share a sip of water with them. The auntie who had previously come for the AC was furious and frustrated with him and now wanted to get back at him with the help of these mafia boys. The mafia members were pleased to follow her. Their leader said, "Old hag, you led the way well. Once we get the stuff, there'll be plenty of benefits for you, so you can rest assured about the service you're providing." The auntie replied, "Oh my, thank you, Brother Zong. He is truly generous. No wonder he became a big boss. He's amazing. No one can top him." As she spoke, she thought to herself about how badly that Chin guy was going to suffer. She felt extremely pleased and even prayed for it to happen. She imagined Chun crying and begging, saying, "Big brother, spare his life." He would admit Auntie Wong was wrong and say that from now on, her home is his home and she can live wherever she wants. Auntie Wong, thinking all this, sneered inwardly, eager to see how arrogant he could be this time. They continued moving forward toward a road. Zong said, "This kid definitely has something going on. Even from outside, you can see the way the place is built is absolutely crazy. It's almost like this guy knows the future." One of the goons grew excited and said, "Brother Zong, watch me kick the door down." He promised Zong it would be enjoyable and told everyone to watch. However, as he rushed forward in excitement, he stepped on a spot that suddenly triggered a trap. He was zapped with a shock so powerful it was as if Zeus himself had struck him with lightning. As he is electrocuted, he cries out in pain, yelling repeatedly. Zong, standing behind him, is completely shocked. He has no idea what on earth is happening and wonders if this guy is an idiot. The others rush over to him, and one says this trash cramped up for no reason and asks if he's stupid. But the moment they touch him, they get zapped back as the electricity transfers into their bodies. Now they all feel exactly what he felt earlier. They finally understand why he cramped up because they too are crying and shouting for help. They scream and beg, saying, "Help me, help me." The zap of Zeus is simply too powerful. Zong, the auntie, and the others are now truly terrified. They have no clue what this even is. The auntie had hoped to see Chun crying and begging, but instead all she sees are these goons crying miserably. And this isn't even the end. An announcement and alarm start ringing all around them. Every one of them is utterly dumbfounded. It's as if their dumbfounded levels are showing +2, +2, +3, and one guy even at +5. Then the announcement plays, and a voice says that good luck is coming. Wishing everyone good luck. Good luck brings joy and love. The announcement continues while everyone is still being zapped. It says that good luck comes with good luck welcoming, good luck thriving, and reaching the 4 seas. It repeats again and again like a chant. The electricity keeps rising as this announcement, prayer, and poem are sung. The guys keep crying and yelling about the electricity. At this moment, Zong finally understands what's going on and immediately steps back. He now knows why this madness is happening. Suddenly, a notification appears showing detected intense negative emotion shock plus 45, detected intense negative emotion panic plus 36, and detected intense negative emotion speechlessness plus 22. Chun is comfortably enjoying his cozy surroundings, watching everything unfold on a screen. He casually remarks that their luck isn't too bad since they managed to step right onto the protective electric grid with 1 foot. Zong immediately shouts back, telling Chun to stop talking nonsense. He insists that repaying debts is a matter of principle, and if Chun returns the money, they'll call it even. He has already recognized Chen's voice. Then the auntie chimes in, agreeing and saying that Chun has money to renovate but none to pay his debts, questioning how his parents even raised him. The hag remains unsettled, muttering that this one needs some special electricity. Meanwhile, Chun leisurely eats his ice cream, resting his foot on the table near the keyboard as he watches everything. He calmly tells Brother Jang that the market price of his apartment is 4 million, which is more than enough to cover the 3 and 12 million debts. Then, speaking through the speaker, he adds that as for Lu Wenqing's debt, they should go find her instead because it has nothing to do with him. Upon hearing this, Zong becomes extremely furious. In his mind, he thinks that right now, supplies are king and everything else is nonsense. At the same time, Chen's voice comes through, saying, Brother Jang should understand that a wise man submits to circumstances. He adds that since he's in a good mood, they should part on good terms. He warns that if they keep causing trouble, he won't be so polite anymore. After saying this, he presses the red button. The electricity instantly surges, and the goons start crying and screaming. They shout that it hurts, that they can't hold on any longer, and beg their boss for help. They are clearly in severe pain. Then a notification pops up saying, detected intense negative emotion pain plus 63, and detected intense negative emotion despair plus 77. Zong is truly scared now. He has no idea what kind of situation he has stumbled into, so he decides to retreat. While running away, he shouts that Chun Sha should just wait, because the Dai Gang won't let him off the hook, even though they're fleeing like cowards. Another notification pops up, reading, detected intense negative emotion, anger plus 78. As the gang escapes, the auntie becomes the next target. She is terrified, left all alone, standing there staring at the apartment. The surroundings turn red as the atmosphere intensifies, and she has no clue what to do next. Her dream of seeing Chan Sha beg and cry remains just that, a dream. As the temperature rises to 52 degrees Celsius, the entire area becomes deserted. No one wants to venture outside anymore. For Chun, however, everything indoors is cool and refreshing. He's enjoying life even more than before, casually watching TV. On the screen, the news anchor reports that recent heat stroke deaths have occurred in many places, advising citizens to avoid going out as much as possible. Suddenly, his phone vibrates with notifications. When Chun checks it, he sees Auntie Wong raging in the comments, accusing him of being inhuman and saying he has food, drinks, and AC while just watching the elderly and children suffer and die from the heat. Another comment from a shopkeeper calls him selfish and says he's unfit to be a neighbor. Someone else says that in extraordinary times, resources must be shared. Otherwise, he's a murderer. Another claims they're about to die from the heat and asks if he has no shame. Yet another demands that Chun come out and give everyone an explanation. Chun calmly sips his cold drink and continues swiping through the notifications. Then another system notification appears. Detected intense negative emotion. Jealousy plus 99. Detected intense negative emotion. Anger plus 101. Total negative emotion value has exceeded 1,000. Rewards are being calculated. Standing in front of his supplies, he takes out his phone and snaps quite a few pictures of all the crazy and amazing items piled up there. Then he posts them in the group chat saying that yes, his stockpile is indeed quite large, and if anyone wants some, they can sign up. Immediately, a lady replies, saying she's signing up and begging him to share a little. The hag also speaks up, saying little Chun should send some food over to Auntie because her legs aren't good. The shopkeeper boss demands that Chun bring him 2 cases of water first. Someone else quickly adds a sign up +1, but things aren't going to be that easy. Chun replies, saying everyone should understand he isn't running a charity. If they want anything, they need to exchange something of equal value. Otherwise, there's no deal. He refuses freeloaders. As soon as this message appears, the shopkeeper boss explodes, calling Chun a little brat, accusing him of being selfish, and telling him to hurry up and share the supplies if he still wants to be considered a good neighbor. The hag also jumps in, telling everyone to look at Chun's true colors and accusing him of refusing to save people who are dying. She curses him, saying he'll get his karma sooner or later and that she wants to see it happen. Another guy threatens Chun, saying that if they starve to death, he shouldn't think he'll have it easy either. Chun doesn't care at all. He simply sets his phone aside, completely unimpressed. He can't believe how useless these people are. Just then, a new notification pops up. Negative emotion value has reached 3000. It announces a skill upgrade called Special Cut, beginner level. The effect is described as creating a microscopic rift in the air that slices through any object it touches within a 3-meter range. Chun finds this incredibly intriguing. He begins to think more deeply about this so-called special cut. Spotting an apple nearby, he immediately tests it out. In an instant, the apple is cleanly sliced in half without any effort at all. The effect is astonishing. Chun says, "This is getting interesting. I never thought I'd get something this powerful, but it's absolutely cool." He realizes he could even use it against those mafia guys if they keep pestering him too much. Outside, only a few cars are still running. Then a woman named Lu steps out of one of them. She's wearing a flashy, elegant dress, but appearances can be deceiving. She's the kind of dangerous woman people should avoid, no matter how attractive she seems. Looking at her too much might even make someone fall for her, which is risky. Unless someone thinks they can fix her, it's better not to get involved at all. There's also another person in the car. He's still plotting ways to get back at Chun. He steps out as well and asks little Zong if the Chun Sha he mentioned lives here. Zong confirms that it's in the innermost building. As he reports this to his boss, the boss turns to Lu and asks if Chun Sha used to be her man. He explains that he's leading a team to raid Qin Zhao's home and asks if she'll feel heartache over it. Upon hearing this, Lu looks shocked at first, then quickly reassures him. She says that right now her heart belongs only to him and there's no room for anyone else. She tells him he's the best and the only one she could have ever wanted. She also adds that as for Chun Xiao, he's nothing but a worthless piece of trash. Yet deep down, she's thinking that tonight marks Chun Zhao's end. She wants him completely finished today. She even feels ready to cling to this man more tightly and push him to act faster, just to ensure Chun Sha is dealt with. As they move forward together, the shopkeeper suddenly rushes over and eagerly asks if the big brother is here for Chun Sha. He explains that they're homeowners in this complex and are willing to help teach Chun Sha a lesson. Another man behind him quickly agrees, saying they know the area well and can help block Chun Sha's escape route if he tries to run. The boss nods and promises that if they help catch Chun Xiao, he'll share some of the supplies from Chun Zhao's room with them. The shopkeeper immediately grows even more excited and thanks him enthusiastically. He urges the boss to follow him, saying they know a shortcut. He's extremely eager and wants Chun Sha to get what he deserves as soon as possible, helping in every way he can. Around them, others begin grabbing whatever they can. Anyone who tries to stop them is beaten back. No one wants to share anymore. Everyone just wants everything for themselves. As the mafia boss and the shopkeeper move through the area, the shopkeeper suddenly points ahead and nervously says this is his home and that they're on the same side. The boss replies coldly that it doesn't matter. He says that from now on, the whole building belongs to Lu. The hag immediately explodes in anger, insisting they can't do this and that they never provoked them. She can't believe she only wanted all this to happen to Chun Sha, not to herself. But these are mafia guys and they don't care at all. They have power and people backing them, so they simply take whatever they want. The shopkeeper finally panics and collapses into regret. He admits that he was wrong and shouldn't have been greedy for those scraps. Now everything is lost, and even his means of survival has vanished. He watches as the hag is beaten by the goons, while the others lie helpless on the ground. He keeps shouting that he was truly blind and wonders how he could have ever trusted a bunch of beasts like them. At this point, there's nothing more to be done. The mafia men gather together, swords in hand, their boss standing at the front with that bad girl right beside him. The bad girl has already gotten what she wanted and now only seeks revenge. As they all stare at the building from outside, something suddenly crashes down. From inside, Chun Sha hurls a couch straight onto the ground below. Casually enjoying his meal, he looks down and asks if everyone is looking for him. He seems to be having a great time, The boss sneers and says that death is already imminent. Yet Chun is still putting on a show. He orders Chun to hand over the supplies, promising to at least leave his body intact. The bad girl stands beside him, watching closely to see what happens next. Chun remains calm. He slowly wipes his mouth with a cloth and says that didn't their parents teach them basic manners? He remarks that it's extremely rude to disturb someone while they're eating and asks if these goons can't even manage something so simple. That completely sets the boss off. He curses and commands everyone to beat Chun as much as they want. The goons rush forward all at once, but Chun easily dodges their punches while still holding his plate. His balance is ridiculously good. One man lunges at him, and Chun grabs his head and slams it straight into the ground. Another attacker charges in with a huge weapon, swinging it wildly. Chun dodges the swing and kicks him hard, leaving the guy stunned and wondering what just happened. Then another assailant comes from behind with an axe and tries to strike Chun Sha. Chun wonders to himself if they're really forcing him to use spatial segmentation now. He steadies himself and gets ready. Suddenly, a bottle is hurled toward the boss and the bad girl. They look at it in confusion, and in the next moment, thick smoke fills the area. Turns out to be a smoke grenade. The boss starts coughing and shouting that it's tear gas. He yells that this kid has an accomplice and orders everyone to retreat immediately. The group panics and scrambles around. Even Chun Sha looks somewhat confused by this sudden turn of events. Amid the chaos, the axe guy misses his strike and drops his weapon onto the ground. Then another voice speaks up, saying the trouble Chen caused isn't small at all. He adds that Chen's skills are actually quite impressive. Chun looks toward him and says he only wants to know one thing: why he's here. The man replies that it's about guns. He asks if Chun still wants them and says he has good merchandise available. He makes it clear that he just wants to keep the deal going and doesn't want any trouble with weapons or business. In his eyes, this place is exactly where his weapons would be needed the most. Mong gazes enviously at Chun Zhao's cooler box, amazed that he has ice water in this heat. Chun Xiao hands him a bottle of water but asks why he's so far from his own territory. Mu Chong explains that a rival, Lu Hiang, has been stealing his business, and he was tracking his men. He admits he followed the rival's men here and was surprised by Chun Zhao's large stockpile, assuming he has special supply channels. Hearing this, Chun Zhao's eyes narrow with alertness. He turns sharply, demanding what Muang is implying. Muang quickly reassures him, clarifying he wants to propose a partnership, not pry. He reveals Lu Hiang has a massive stockpile of purified water and suggests Chun Xiao extract it. They would store it here and Mu Chong would sell it. Chun Xiao contemplates the offer in the dark, knowing rising temperatures will make water more valuable than money. He agrees to cooperate, leaving Muang in pure shock. Chun Xiao demands a 9:1 profit split. Outraged, Mu Chong shouts that it's robbery. The system notifies Chun Xiao he has harvested the strong emotion of shock. Unmoved, Chun Xiao turns to walk away, saying there's nothing to discuss if Muang isn't willing. Desperate, Muang abandons his dignity and clings to Chun Zhao's leg, begging for an 8:2 split so he can eat. With tears streaming down his face, Muang realizes Chun Xiao can't be swayed and must have a powerful trump card. Satisfied with his dominance, Chun Xiao sips his drink and agrees to the 8:2 split. However, he adds a condition. He gets first pick of all future goods, and Muang sells what's left. Resigned, Muang sighs and agrees. Chun Xiao takes command, ordering Muang to first scout the target's layout and personnel. Later, the two overlook a massive industrial complex. Muang explains it's Lu Hiang's stronghold, with the front used for trading resources. The place is heavily guarded by men with shotguns on patrol. Muang reveals a darker side of the stronghold, indicating women have been captured to provide special services for the leaders. A guard handles one such woman, Lu Wangqing, now a prisoner after her betrayal. She looks terrified and helpless, dressed in a red gown. Muang points to the rear water storage area but admits he hasn't found the exact tank yet. Chun Xiao outlines his plan. He will scout alone, and on his signal, Muang must create a diversion. Muang doubts how Chun Xiao can move the water by himself. Ignoring this, Chun Xiao leaps from their vantage point toward shipping containers patrolled by guards below. Now on the ground, Chun Xiao moves confidently through the facility dressed in dark clothing. However, he is quickly noticed. A guard stops him, noting his unfamiliar face and demanding his ID. Chun Xiao calmly shows a card, claiming boss Lu sent him to count the water stock. The guard isn't fooled. He laughs, points his shotgun at Chun Xiao's back, and mocks the childish ruse. The system registers the guard's mockery, adding to Chun Xiao's points. Chun Xiao decides his spatial cut is for more than just peeling fruit. With cold resolve, he rests a hand on the guard's shoulder and suddenly swipes the ID card. Infused with his spatial power, the plastic becomes razor-sharp, slicing through the guard's neck. The guard collapses instantly, unable to comprehend what happened. As blood sprays from the fatal wound, another guard witnesses the gruesome scene. Chun Xiao's system registers a surge of horror and pain from the victim. Overcome with shock, the guard pulls out a pistol and, screaming in panic, aims at his partner's killer. The guard opens fire, the muzzle flash illuminating the dark industrial site. But Chun Xiao moves with superhuman agility, easily evading the bullets. He retaliates with a long-range spatial slash. The guard keeps shooting but is no match for the invisible blade, which slices him in half mid-stride. The system notifies Chun Xiao he has amassed a massive amount of fear and despair points. Gunfire suddenly shatters the stronghold's silence. Reinforcements rush in, including a guard wielding a rocket launcher. Outnumbered, Chun Xiao hides in shadows against a concrete wall. He stays perfectly still as frantic guards run past, unaware of him. While hiding, a pale hand suddenly emerges from the darkness behind him. He freezes, shocked to realize someone has found his hiding spot. Outside, chaos reigns around the stronghold. Guards swarm near the huge chemical tanks, searching for the intruder. Armed silhouettes patrol past corrugated metal buildings, weapons raised as they hunt the killer. The figure in the shadows is Li Yuyu. She presses a finger to her lips, signaling him to be quiet. Crouched behind a shed, Chun Xiao asks why she is here. She sadly explains the gang captured her and assumed he was caught too. Disheveled and hopeless, she kneels on the ground. Chun Xiao asks if she knows where the water is. She nods, saying her cleaning duties let her learn the layout and offers to lead him. For a distraction, Li Yuyu hurls a metal bucket into the courtyard, where it clatters loudly. The guards, including the one with the rocket launcher, turn toward the noise, shouting. They found someone. They rush to the empty bucket. Seizing the chance, Li Yuyu leads Chun Xiao down a narrow alley, whispering this route has no surveillance cameras. She guides him swiftly through dirty, rat-infested back alleys to avoid detection. They stop at a large metal door, and Chun Xiao tells her to hide and wait for his return. Alone, he activates his spatial ability, summoning a black vortex in his hand. He focuses his energy, preparing to breach the wall. With a powerful surge, he punches the structure directly. The massive impact shatters the brick wall, sending debris flying as he enters. Inside, a patrolling guard is startled by the explosion. He stumbles backward, looking around in confusion. Terrified and sweating, he grips his weapon tightly and screams, demanding to know who is there. Chainao steps through the briar, his eyes glowing a terrifying red as he glares at the guard. Without hesitation, he unleashes a deadly spatial slash. The instantly precise attack cuts through the guard's neck before he can pull the trigger. As the guard dies, the system notifies Chainao that he has harvested massive shock, fear, and pain points. As the woman hides and looks ahead, worry starts to grow. She thinks about how long Chun Xiao has been inside and wonders if something might have happened to him. Anxiety grips her as she hopes everything is all right. But when she cautiously peers inside, she is utterly horrified. The place is a scene of devastation, and she can hardly believe her eyes. Everything looks completely wrecked. Suddenly, she notices a figure walking straight toward her. Panic surges through her. She starts shouting and prepares to attack. Then she realizes it's Chun Xiao. He calmly tells her that everything is handled and says they should leave. Without hesitation, he turns and starts walking. Then, pulling out a gun, he aims it at the sky and fires a shot. The bullet explodes midair. The woman is stunned by this, but Chun bursts into laughter, clearly pleased with what he's done. Outside, a man sees the signal and immediately understands its meaning. He comments that Chun Xiao is really not bad, sounding genuinely impressed. Then he sets his own plan of destruction into motion. He throws several prepared bottles onto the ground, causing chaos and explosions everywhere. The entire area quickly catches fire. People shout about the fire and rush around trying to put it out. Exactly as planned, everyone is completely distracted. Amid the spreading chaos, Chun Xiao and the woman easily slip deeper into other parts of the area. The woman points the way, saying that taking the alley will lead them to the outskirts of the south gate. As they continue forward, another woman suddenly rushes up from behind and calls out to Chun Sha, begging him to take her along. It's the same troublesome woman. Chun immediately turns and recognizes her. She pleads again, reminding him they used to be lovers, and asks him to take her for the sake of their past. She moves closer and promises that if he takes her away from this place, she won't hold it against him for using her name to take out loans. Chun responds coldly, telling her she truly doesn't understand the situation at all. Upon hearing this, the woman breaks down and begins to cry. She explains that they force her every day to serve old men. If she resists, they beat her, and if she tries to escape, they catch her and drag her back. She says she has nowhere else to go and begs Chun to let her live with him, promising she will do anything for him. Chun looks at her and reminds her of everything she has done. He asks if she ever thought about this day when she laughed at him for having no money, called him ass, slept with old men behind his back, and even led Lu Hiang straight to try to kill him. Hearing this, the bad girl suddenly becomes genuinely frightened. In that moment, she finally realizes that what she has done is utterly unforgivable. Chun thinks even deeper. In his mind, he recalls his past life and wonders if, when she dismembered him back then, she ever imagined that today would come. She had committed far too many horrific acts against him, and there is no way he can forgive her, no matter what she says now. He forces himself to keep his emotions in check because he cannot allow history to repeat itself. Chun coldly brushes her aside and says her acting is still as poor as ever. Then he turns to the other woman and tells her they should leave. The woman glances at the bad girl lying on the ground and silently hopes she learns from this and never becomes someone like her. At that moment, the bad girl suddenly snaps. She declares that if Chun won't let her live, then no one will have it easy either. Immediately, a notification pops up indicating detected intense negative emotion. Hatred plus 999. Completely off the charts. Not long after, the area's boss arrives. The first thing he asks is where the water is and whether his water is still safe, as that is the most important commodity he has right now. When they open the door and see the devastation inside, their hearts sink. There is nothing left at all. Then they notice words written on the wall. He clearly states that Boss Lu's water has been taken and warns that next time, it will be his life. Lu completely loses control. He yells, demanding to know who is responsible. His fury is beyond belief. At that moment, the bad girl lying on the ground speaks up. She tells Boss Lu that it was Chun Sha. She claims she tried to stop him, but Chun injured her and even insulted Lu, calling him trash. She clings to Lu, deliberately manipulating him further, saying that Chun declared Lu unworthy of possessing such resources. She continues to fan the flames, adding that Chun wants to take all of them down. Hearing this, Lu's anger erupts completely. He orders everyone to follow him to the south gate and slaughter Chun Sha. A massive commotion spreads throughout the entire area as the command is given. Chun and the other man immediately notice the movement. The man comments, clearly understanding what's happening. As the entire force gathers behind their boss, Chun calmly mutters that Boss Lu moves fast. Still, he's already prepared. Then Lu points forward and gives the order, telling everyone to go get him. Everyone behind Lu charges forward, unable to control their rage. Their emotions run wild, but this actually gives Chun the advantage. He remains calm and casually throws a torch onto the ground in front of them, instantly creating a huge wall of fire. The group is forced to stop, trapped behind the flames. Lu shouts that he will make sure Chun Shao is finished. Right after that, a notification appears. Detected intense negative emotion. Hatred plus 999. Now there are two people whose hatred toward Chun has completely maxed out. Chun, however, stays relaxed. He thanks Boss Lu and mentions that he'll gladly take these emotion points to become even stronger and earn even more points in the future. Then another notification pops up. A message appears. Ding, negative emotion points have reached 3000, and a new skill called Spatial Barrier has been unlocked. Inside the cozy shelter, the guy is throwing a small celebration. He laughs, saying what just happened was absolutely incredible and that old dog Lu is probably tearing his place apart right now. They sit back, enjoying an array of insanely delicious dishes, partying without a care, completely ignoring the deadly heat outside. The food looks so tempting that just seeing it makes anyone want to join in. It's the kind of feast you'd want to dive into immediately. After witnessing all this, the lady sincerely thanks Chun Sha. She says that if it weren't for him, she doesn't know how much longer she would have remained trapped in that hellhole. She's deeply grateful and feels ready to do anything for him. She even offers to cook for him, saying she can make all kinds of dishes. She just wants to make him happy because she knows guys appreciate good home-cooked meals. Sean smiles and tells her they're old classmates, so there's no need to be so formal. He understands her gratitude but wants her to relax, feel safe, and simply take it easy here. The lady insists it's not just politeness. She says he made her feel that there are still people in this world worth trusting. The guy then chimes in, saying that whole hero saving the beauty move was pretty impressive, too. He jokingly asks Chun to share the details, eager to know exactly how he pulled it off. He can't believe Chun emptied an entire reservoir by himself and wonders if it's some kind of crazy magic. For a moment, the room falls silent. Chun simply says he has his ways and tells the guy he should focus on figuring out how to safely sell that much water instead. Hearing this, the guy freezes for a second, realizing Chun is right. Selling that amount of water without anyone noticing where it came from won't be easy at all. Chun then casually asks the lady about her life after junior high, mentioning he never really heard any news about her after graduation. The lady hesitates, then explains that after graduating, her family ran into serious trouble. She says her parents went missing at the same time. As she talks, the memories overwhelm her, and she begins to panic again. Still, she pushes through, knowing Chun deserves to know the truth. But just as she's speaking, flames suddenly erupt around the area. They can't believe what they're seeing. Looking outside, the guy blurts out that the whole place is on fire. It's completely out of control. It's obvious the people who lost the water either want it back or want everything destroyed. As the flames blaze, Chun, the lady, and the guy all stare outside. The fire is massive. Amid the chaos, they see people suffering. One person holding a child keeps screaming for help and begging someone to save the children. The guy suddenly realizes what's going on and says it's Lu Hiang behind this, wondering if that bastard really intends to burn everyone alive. The lady anxiously asks if they should do something. Chen, however, is lost in his own thoughts. In his mind, he realizes Lu Hiang is trying to use morality and innocent lives as a noose to trap him. He thinks it's pointless because he's long past being that naive do-gooder from his past life who would only get strangled trying to save everyone. Outside, Lu Hiang shouts for Chan Xia to come out, threatening that if he doesn't, he'll burn the entire area to ashes and see how long Chen's so-called iron turtle shell can last. One of Lu's underlings flatters him, saying, "The boss is wise as always." He adds that if the fire keeps spreading, even if they don't burn to death, the smoke will finish them off. Lu enjoys the spectacle. As the fire grows larger and larger, his mood improves steadily. In his mind, he believes this is exactly what happens when someone dares to challenge him. The flames continue to climb higher, causing nearby buildings to collapse, which only intensifies the fire further. Inside the shelter, the man begins to panic. He insists they can't stay there like this any longer. He warns that the heat will conduct inside, and even if they don't burn, they'll either be roasted alive or suffocate from the lack of oxygen. Chin simply smiles. He already has a plan. In his mind, he reasons that in a high-temperature apocalypse, he would be foolish not to have installed the highest-grade fire protection system in his safe house. He prepared for this long ago. He even has old PCs still running, like ones with Windows XP or something. Then, he calmly presses a red button. Normally, pressing a red button signals impending disaster, but this time, it's quite the opposite. Outside, devices activate and start spraying fire control grenades. They function like massive fire extinguishers, releasing thick suppressant smoke across the area. As the smoke spreads, the flames quickly subside. The man stands there, utterly stunned by what he's witnessing. He exclaims, "Holy crap, it's nanograde aerogel." He can't believe Chin managed to get his hands on something like that. He says this stuff is straight-up military grade and asks if Chun robbed an army or something. The woman is equally stunned by the sight. As the fire begins to die down, the boss outside grows increasingly frustrated. He snorts and declares this is just a desperate death struggle. But it's clear he's prepared for this too. Suddenly, one of the men nearby attempts to sneak an attack on him, assuming the boss is distracted. The man swings with all his might, but it's useless. The boss is far stronger. He easily takes down the attacker and orders everyone to keep moving forward. He says he doesn't believe Chen's junk will last forever and is prepared to drag things out. The man beside him panics and stammers, telling the boss that the fuel is nearly gone. He warns that the white mist is far too fierce. At that moment, Chen's voice rings out casually. He asks Boss Lu if he's finished playing with fire and jokes about whether he wants to come inside for a glass of ice water to cool off. Immediately after, a notification appears. Detected strong negative emotion anger plus 888. The people gathered outside, hoping to enjoy the fire show, are now completely disappointed. With the flames dying down, there's nothing left to watch. Inside his mind, the boss changes his strategy. He decides that simply killing Qinsha would be too easy a way out. He realizes this house is fireproof, sturdy, and fully self-sufficient. To him, it's the perfect shelter, and now he wants it for himself. Brute force failed. Fire attacks didn't work. So he resolves there's no need to keep pretending any longer. He thinks that if that's the case, no one can blame him for tearing away the last shred of civility he has left. As he looks at the nearby civilians, fear spreads across their faces. Qin understands exactly what's about to happen, but he's already prepared for every possibility. His resolve is firm, and he's ready for whatever comes next. With the fire blazing nearby, Boss Lu shouts at Qinsha to get the hell out. He points out all the people suffering because of him. The auntie immediately bursts into tears and screams at Chun, calling him a damn little brat. She blames him for offending Boss Lu and dragging everyone down with him, demanding that he come out. Meanwhile, another man yells that Lu Hiang is a bastard, declaring that if it comes to it, they will rush out and fight him to the death. Chun thinks to himself that using other people's lives to threaten him is the oldest trick in the book. Unfortunately, in this world, being soft-hearted is the same as committing suicide. Lu sneers, saying that if Chun wants to hide like a coward, that's fine. He will start with this old man instead. He grabs an elderly man who is trembling and crying in fear. Suddenly, a voice shouts that Lu Hiang will die a horrible death for doing this. Hearing that voice and seeing what's happening, Chun immediately recognizes the man as Grandpa Wang. He remembers how this old man once brought him water and told him to survive, saying that as long as he is alive, there is always hope. That memory finally sparks real anger in Chun. He turns and tells Mukong to stay inside and protect Yu, stating he is going to settle the score with Boss Lu. The others look at him in shock, but they also understand. As Chun walks out into the sea of flames, he calmly tells Lu Hiang that their grievances are strictly between the two of them and have nothing to do with anyone else. Lu is still gripping the old man by the collar, a torch burning in his hand. Hearing Chen's words, he throws the old man aside and mocks Chun, saying he is finally willing to crawl out of his shell. He asks if Chun wants to play the hero. Then he lays out his conditions. Pay back the money, hand over the water, and give up his life. Only then might he consider letting the others go. Chun responds coldly that he has no interest in playing the hero. The two lock eyes with intense focus. Then Chun raises his hand and points forward. He says fighting and killing are dull and only damage one's karma. He adds he heard Lu originally ran a casino, so why not settle this the way Lu knows best? He proposes a bet. If Lu wins, everything Chun owns belongs to him. But if Chun wins, Lu must release Grandpa Wang and get the hell out of the area. Boss Lu bursts out laughing and agrees immediately. He tosses a dice cup and says they'll bet on who rolls higher. 1 round to decide life or death. Chun catches it swiftly and calmly declares he's betting on big. He adds a God of Gambler showdown is about to begin. Both adjust their stances. For a moment, it feels like they're in a casino rather than a burning battlefield. They shout loudly as they start shaking the dice. The dice device powers on, and the dice inside spin wildly. As the dice roll, everyone cheers for their boss, shouting Boss Lu will definitely win. Boss Lu looks supremely confident. When the dice stop, he bursts out laughing, proudly announcing 3 sixes. A supreme roll, and declares Chun has lost. Chun stays calm and tells him not to rush, saying the winner hasn't been decided yet. Then he secretly uses a trick to manipulate the dice. He cuts the dice cleanly in half and casually remarks Boss's dice don't seem to be of very good quality. Everyone panics when they see the dice split in 2. Someone shouts the total points add up to 21, which beats the so-called supreme roll. Chun declares Boss Lu has lost and demands he release the old man. Boss Lu is furious. He accuses Chun of cheating and immediately charges at him. A notification pops up. Strong negative emotion detected. Anger pa 500. As Boss Lu rushes forward with a knife, he curses Chun and screams for him to die. The people around panic in fear. Chen, however, stays calm. He thinks this is the perfect moment to test his new skill. As Boss Lu lunges at him, Chun sidesteps effortlessly. He then hurls the dice device at high speed, striking fear into Boss Lu. The device slams into the ground, kicking up smoke and debris. Everyone rushes over in panic, asking if the boss is okay. Amid the smoke, Boss Lu coughs and says he's fine. He orders 2 men to find Chun. As the smoke clears, Boss Lu spots Chun ahead. He points at him and commands everyone to take him down. The goons immediately open fire, shooting wildly and shouting excitedly, eager to kill Chun. Boss Lu demands an update, but before anyone can answer, a sharp slash cuts down the goons standing right in front of him. Boss Lu is stunned. As the smoke finally settles, Chun stands there, completely unharmed. Boss Lu pulls out a massive rocket launcher, shouting that no matter how strong Chun is, there's no way to dodge this, and tells Chun to die, firing the rocket instantly. As the rocket speeds forward, the boss shouts that everything Chun owns will be his. At that moment, a notification appears. Spatial barrier activated. A barrier instantly envelopes Chun's body, protecting him. The barrier takes the full impact of the explosion and blocks it completely. Boss Lu begins to panic. Sweat pours down his face as he wonders what's happening. He can't believe Chun blocked a missile. He starts to feel this guy is simply unbeatable. Chun smirks and tells Boss Lu that losing in front of so many people must be tough. He asks if Lu plans to go back on the bet. As he speaks, Chun casually slices the missile apart with several cuts. Then he slowly starts walking forward. Seeing Chun approach, the boss feels genuine fear for the first time. Chun remarks that Lu doesn't even have a decent knife and isn't worthy of negotiating terms. Deep down, Boss Lu senses something is seriously off about this guy. There's definitely something suspicious going on. Chun accuses Boss Lu of constantly provoking trouble and crossing the line, insisting it's finally time to settle the score. Meanwhile, Boss Lu's mind races. He realizes their fuel supply is gone, and a direct fight would be a losing battle. This kid has unusual abilities, and his safe house is a treasure trove. Boss Lu decides it's better to recruit Qin Xiao and recover his losses with interest. Though he hates the idea, he forces a smile. With sparkling eyes and a fake friendly expression, he claims it's all a misunderstanding. He suggests they're just friends who got off on the wrong foot and asks Chun if he wants to strike a deal. Boss Lu tells Qin Xiao to listen carefully. He warns that killing him would only leave blood on Chen's hands without any gain. He adds that while human life is cheap in this world, he can actually help Chun survive and live better. He mentions he has a batch of medicine, antibiotics like penicillin and cephalosporin, and asks if Chun understands how precious those supplies are right now. He explains that even a small infected wound can be deadly. He offers a deal. If Chun lets him go, he will share that batch of medicine with him. Qin Xiao listens intently and admits that in times like these, antibiotics are indeed valuable currency. He honestly tells Boss Lu that he controls more than just this one room and that his stockpile is far larger than Lu could imagine. Hearing this, Boss Lu looks shocked. Lu quickly points out that Chun only has food and water, but without medicine, a single illness could be fatal. He proposes cooperation, revealing that the medicine is stored in an abandoned factory in the West District, and only he knows the password. Chun stares coldly at him for a moment before agreeing, saying that tonight's conflict ends here. He even wraps his arm around Boss Lu's shoulder in a seemingly friendly gesture. Boss Lu quickly agrees, saying, "Yes, absolutely. It ends here," and expresses relief that the misunderstanding has been cleared up. Qin Xiao tells him to leave for now, and that they can discuss the details another day. Boss Lu begins to walk away. His underlings look confused and call out to him, asking what just happened. Boss Lu simply orders them to move, and they all walk off together. Qin Xiao keeps a sharp eye on them as they retreat. Once they are far enough away, he quietly mutters that a simple password can't stop him. Even without it, he can open that door. He turns back to the neighbors still standing there, especially Grandpa Wang, and reassures him that it's safe now since the gang has left. While Chun speaks with Grandpa Wang, the auntie can barely hold herself together. She is panicking, frustrated, and overwhelmed with terror, her status clearly showing fear plus 100. Grandpa Wang thanks Chun repeatedly, saying Chun saved his life and that if he ever needs anything in the future, he only has to ask. He admits he's too old to fight but can still help plant crops or do chores. Qin Xiao gently tells Grandpa Wang he understands his intentions but asks him to go back, lock his door, and get some rest. As the moon hangs high and the heat continues to rise even at night, everyone finally retreats indoors. Walking back, one of the thugs mutters that Qin Xiao scared him half to death earlier. Walking ahead of them, Boss Lu sneers, calling Chun Xiao just a reckless kid. He scoffs at the idea of actually splitting the medicine, admitting that his talk of cooperation was just a stalling tactic. He explains that he only wanted to stabilize the situation first. Once he figures out how to get Chen's supplies, he will deal with him properly. He adds that if Chun thinks he can fight him, he is still far too inexperienced. Hearing this, the underlings immediately start flattering him. One of them praises the boss for his wisdom. Another agrees, adding that since Chun Xiao dared to challenge Boss Lu, he probably won't survive more than 3 days. Boss Lu's expression turns serious. He remarks that something is definitely wrong with Chun Xiao. Even artillery shells couldn't get close to him, which makes no sense. He orders Pineapple Head to spend the next few days investigating Chun carefully. But before he can say another word, a sudden slash severs his head. The underlings are instantly terrified. One shouts to run, while another screams, wondering if it's a ghost. Unable to believe what just happened, they panic and scatter, leaving Boss Lu's body alone on the ground. On a nearby building, a figure stands quietly with one hand extended. It is Chun Xiao, he calmly says, bidding Boss Lu farewell forever. Later that night, a loud announcement echoes everywhere. It declares a state of emergency. The global high-temperature phenomenon is completely out of control. Multiple climate tipping points have been breached, and the ecosystem is on the verge of collapse. Authorities formally urge residents to make a choice based on their situation. One option is to migrate north to temporary government shelters. The other is to stay put and wait for rescue. The announcement repeats that this is not a drill. Chun Xiao listens and analyzes the situation. He knows that going north to that so-called Pure Land will soon become a new purgatory, and waiting for rescue is an even bigger fantasy. Deep down, he knows the real nightmare has only just begun. As he thinks about the monsters, he reflects on the future. He knows that soon heat-resistant mutant beasts will start devouring everything civilization has created. He also knows that awakened humans will emerge, forming factions that fight over resources and kill each other. He realizes his goal isn't just to guard the safe house. He wants to turn it into the ultimate fortress for survival in the apocalypse. Outside, people are already starving. Someone shouts that they're dying of hunger, and their homes have been burned down, demanding to know why Chun Xiao gets to live comfortably. Another person yells that Chun Xiao is holed up alone in a massive, sturdy fortress, enjoying food, drinks, and air conditioning. Anger swells among the crowd. One man begins pounding on the door, shouting for Chun Xiao to come out. He blames Chun for refusing to help earlier, claiming everyone ended up like this because of him. He demands an explanation. Others join in, insisting that Chun must share the safe house. They argue that everyone should take turns living there to survive together, smirking as they say it. Inside, Chun Xiao remains completely unbothered. He listens to relaxing music while calmly doing household chores, perfectly at ease. He even takes a picture of his delicious meal and posts it online, casually scrolling through the comments afterward. As he reads the reactions, status notifications pop up. Jealousy plus 150, anger plus 130, despair plus 95. Chun Xiao looks at the comments and thinks that incompetent rage is the cheapest emotion in the apocalypse. Outside, the crowd can only shout, curse, and throw things to vent their frustration. Some even smash their own phones. One man hurls his device and curses, saying that since Chun refused to take the easy path, he'll be forced to take the hard way, swearing he will bring Chin down. Meanwhile, Chun Xiao considers the abandoned factory in the West District and decides to scout the route. But the moment he steps outside, the crowd starts throwing objects at him. Amid the flying debris, a machete suddenly hurtles straight toward him. As Chun Xiao dodges the objects hurled directly at him, he notices several people charging toward him, shouting that if he doesn't surrender the house today, they'll kill him. But the moment they see Chun Xiao moving straight at them, they freeze in shock. Chun Xiao grabs one attacker's swinging hand and twists it sharply, forcing the weapon to drop. The man can't believe how fast Chun Xiao is. Another man tries to strike from behind, but Chun Xiao dodges that as well. After disarming the first attacker, Chun Xiao now holds the weapon in his own hand. Just then, another man spots an opportunity and rushes in to attack. As the man winds up, Chun Xiao stares at him coldly and unleashes a rapid series of slashes, one after another. In an instant, all the attackers are lying on the ground. One of the fallen men trembles and says that Chun Sha actually dared to attack people in broad daylight with so many witnesses watching. A notification pops up showing fear +1, 000. Chun Sha calmly replies that taking them down would only dirty his hands, so there's no way he'll do that. Hearing this only deepens the humiliation of those on the ground. As Chun Sha walks away, he thinks that finishing them off outright would be too easy on them. In this weather, with wound infections, ulcers, and sepsis, they'll slowly rot in pain within a few days. Later, at the West District factory, which remains sealed even during the day, Chun notices a surveillance camera. He immediately cuts it down, destroying it along with some nearby equipment. He slips inside and quietly surveys the area. Soon, he starts coughing and realizes it's poison gas. He curses, understanding this is a trap and that he's in serious trouble now. Suddenly, he senses others nearby. One of them rushes over wearing a mask and quickly injects Chun Sha with something, shocking him. The masked man calmly says the young man should feel a bit better now. He explains that although the nerve gas isn't fatal, it's extremely unpleasant. Chun Sha demands to know who they are. In his mind, he wonders why there are guards here. Lu Hiang never mentioned any. He suspects that old bastard might have set him up, but these two don't seem openly malicious. As the masked man puts the syringe away and hands another injection to the woman, he introduces himself as Lin Guodong, a biomedical researcher. Then Chun starts thinking how strange this place is, with all kinds of weird stuff lying around everywhere. It feels more like a laboratory than a simple medicine storage room. As they walk around, Lin says that Chun needs medicine anyway, so he can take whatever he wants. He tells him to consider it an apology for the security measures and also a small meeting gift. Chun immediately begins checking the shelves, picking out what he might need. He stuffs his bag with all kinds of useful and interesting medicines. After a while, he slings the bag over his shoulder and says thanks. As Chun turns to leave, Lin keeps watching him quietly and calmly says they'll meet again. Later that evening, though night has fallen, the heat remains unbearable. When Chun Sha finally gets home, he suddenly feels uneasy. He thinks that although Professor Lin saved him and didn't make things difficult, the way that man looked at him really gave him the creeps. Just then, a notification pops up in the homeowners group chat. Someone is desperately asking who has antibiotics or high-stick drugs, saying they're willing to buy at a high price. Seeing this, Chun Sha immediately thinks about the medicine he just got. He figures he only picked up a few boxes, but the effects should be good. Still, he decides they're not for sale. That single decision instantly makes the group explode. One person curses him and calls him a selfish villain. Another person threatens him, saying that once they recover, they will come straight to his door and take him down. Someone else advises him to just wait. Notifications begin flooding in non-stop, showing anger +99, hatred +200, and jealousy +380. Chun Sha calmly ignores the insults and starts rummaging through his bag. Suddenly, his expression shifts when he pulls something out and realizes it's a tracker. At that moment, everything clicks. Now he understands why he felt those creepy vibes earlier. As he processes this discovery, Chun Sha calmly disables the tracker. The initial shock fades, replaced by cold determination. He realizes that Professor Lin's supposed kindness was merely a disguise and that this so-called meeting was nothing more than a setup. The true situation is finally clear, and Chun Sha quietly prepares himself for the challenges ahead.